And we're back.
We are back. Thank you again, Paul Teller. Thank you again, Samantha Edis.
Yes.
Roll them.
Yes. All right.
Ericka?
We've got Dennis Prat and Olga Maria. We've got our libertarian friends here today. Do we have audio for? Oh wait, let's see. Olga, you were muted.
Hey.
Can we hear you guys?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I
Hello.
love it. I love it. So, Dennis, Olga, I'm super excited to have you guys both on to get the Libertarian Party perspective. Dennis, especially you being in New Hampshire with rumors that New Hampshire could flip red.
And the Libertarian Party, if I'm not mistaken, just endorsed Donald Trump. Was it yesterday in New Hampshire?
Yes, there's already a move to try to disaffiliate the LPNH from the Libertarian
That's
Party
like every
for
other
doing
week,
this.
but that happens every other week. So
That's true. We in New Hampshire, we're basically a separatist group here in New Hampshire. The Libertarians have been kind of a small minority for a very long time. We don't seem to be able to impress either the Republicans or Democrats that people should leave each other be. So we're moving all of us to one small state, New Hampshire, and there create kind of a libertarian state. And so,
oh, sorry, Dennis, that's part of the Free State Project, right? Is that what you're talking about for our listeners who don't know about the Free State Project?
So New Hampshire would leave the union. Wait, explain this to me. Because by the way, so I live in New Hampshire, right? I live in New London, and if you search way back in like the late 90s, I was the guy living in Killington who wanted Killington, Vermont to secede from Vermont to join New Hampshire. So that was when when George Bush was president and Jim Douglas was the governor of Vermont. That didn't go over so well. So explain to me this whole Free State thing.
So the Free State Project is the Libertarians basically saying that we really can't control New Hampshire, and that what we need to do is to aggregate, to consolidate our people into one small state. I mean, you've seen this with Mormons in Utah and the gays in San Francisco and Chinese in Chinatown, and frankly, the Jews in Israel, where you have a fairly small group of people who aren't mainstream, who aren't particularly liked by the political powers that be, and they consolidate in order to basically have a type of society that they want. I mean, our society is a live and let live society, a live free or die society. So you can see why we chose
just fine.
New Hampshire.
Where's my?
And so it's so frustrating for us to watch all these horrible people fight over what horrible things they're going to do to us from DC. When all we want to do is we want to say, look, if you guys want to do horrible things to each other, God bless, go do it, but leave us be. So that's what we're kind of focused on in the small state of New Hampshire. I'm over here in Dover, by the way, Robert.
I know. Yes. I know here. So Olga, I want to pull you into this because being a Republican in Vermont must be hard, or is hard.
I'm a libertarian in Vermont,
and I was going to say, being a libertarian must be even more lonely and much harder in the great state of Vermont. So, where are you, Olga? I mean, who's going to win the presidential election? I mean, we know who's going to win in Vermont, right? I mean, that's not but I mean, does Trump win? Does Kamala Harris win? And where does the libertarian values line up better?
If Trump somehow won Vermont, just for the record, I will eat my shoe. I will. Pigs. I will be like on the lookout for pigs flying.
And the rest of your clothing too. I mean,
for real. Happening. Okay, go ahead though, Olga.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, and I'm so happy Dennis is here. Dennis and I are very good friends. So what I'm doing is I'm packing.
Oh, you're moving to New Hampshire.
Yeah, eventually, because it's perfect that we have like a Vermonter and a Granite Stater, because Vermont is literally like the upside down. We're the socialist state project. You have the Free State Project. You can clearly see what is working and and what isn't working. And I'll give you an example. After all of these new school budgets were passed and all our property taxes increased, within 3 weeks, there were like 15 houses in my town that went on sale. And the for sale signs have not stopped.
Because
So,
everybody's piecing out. What was
yeah,
it, like a 20% increase?
right.
Well,
And in
well,
some
wait a minute.
cases, 40%,
The border,
depending on where you
be-
live.
between the crime in Burlington, the
Right.
the now porous border in what
That's
is it,
right.
Swanton or wherever
Yep.
up in the Northeast
The
Kingdom,
entire
Yep.
northern border is compromised,
Yep.
unfortunately.
it is compromised, and then tax value. So, I mean,
But
And-
I'm going to tell you what's happening in Vermont, which is pretty exciting. One, more people are kind of waking up because it's really hit their pockets. And unfortunately, the GOP here, unlike New Hampshire, is very weak. There's really poor messaging, but people are desperate. So I think on the statewide level, those candidates that are running, for Senate, with the exception of governor, because although Governor Phil Scott is a Republican, he's really, the progressives' favorite
Democrat.
Republican. So
Yeah.
that kind of doesn't
Yeah.
count. But
Yeah.
every other
If the
statewide
progressives
race,
like you, you're
yeah,
not a
every other
Republican.
statewide race, I think is going to flop. It's going to stay blue because Chittenden County really is the most populous area,
Mhm.
and that really is what drives the statewide races.
Yeah.
We
Of
may
course.
see a few local seats flip from Democrat to independent or Republican simply because people have just had it. And those tend to be races which might be a little bit easier to run because of what's going on.
Yeah.
And because some incumbents have just kind of assumed that, they've been there 13 years or so, and they just kind of assume that, they don't really have to do. And there's been some grassroots stuff happening on the ground. So that's a little bit exciting. In the big picture, clearly, Kamala is going to take Vermont. I think what would be interesting is by how much. If we had a fair election, if we didn't have any issues with the machines
Mail-in
that we have
votings
in
and all that
Vermont,
stuff.
I think it would be interesting to see by what percentage, it's a little bit closer. All I see throughout Vermont are Trump signs. With very few exceptions.
in Vermont, you see Trump signs. I'm
Wow.
Yeah.
shocked.
Wow.
Like the one that I have here, Trump Kennedy.
Yes.
And that's kind of like.
By the way, which Kennedy is that?
I made that
RFK.
sign.
Oh, Robert F. Kennedy. Oh, Trump Vance Kennedy. Sorry, I'm
Sorry.
old. That's why I have glasses. I was like, Kennedy. I didn't see the Vance because the red didn't show up. So you're talking about Trump Kennedy.
So it's the
Interesting. Okay.
unity.
Right.
And
And
that's-
that's what I was going to say. That's the other nuance in Vermont is that, in Vermont, there's a decent number of people who are medical freedom voters. And
That's right.
It's not the majority, but it's the group of people that really is at the core of the Libertarian Party here. And so there was a little bit of a split of people who were like, they want to vote for Trump. They want to vote for Kennedy. So when Kennedy backed Trump, it was kind of like, this is fantastic because now it's kind of like this unity. And it really has brought together a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily want to engage with libertarians or Republicans or people who are really independent, but they just kind of vote for
Right.
their issue.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and
full
that's-
disclosure, Erica, didn't you run as the Libertarian candidate?
I
did.
was. Yes, I was. I was the Libertarian Party candidate for Congress in 2022
So
in
I'm
Vermont.
outnumbered. So I'm the Republican. I'm outnumbered 3-1. I feel like this is like a Democratic convention.
Well,
Not-
and
But we're
I
all
think-
voting the same this time. Isn't
Yes.
that something?
Well, and that's
Well-
what I loved. Now, Dennis, you said that the reason you decided to vote for Trump was because Elon is on board promising. Oh, and Ron Paul, by the
Yeah,
way, for
I
all
mean-
of our Ron Paul fans, they're
Incredible.
promising to take $2 trillion out of the budget government efficiency.
Doge.
Yes. I went to the national convention and I was there. I was backing more the right libertarians candidate, and there was a left libertarian candidate who eventually won simply because the left just outlasted us until 1:30. In our delegation
Filibuster.
of 11 people from New Hampshire, 2 were left by 1:30.
Oh
Um,
my God.
And I actually voted for NOTA, which is none of the above. That we actually have, we run no one on the thing. But I came back, and this is my 13th election. I have never voted for the Republican presidential candidate. I was a little bit upset, but it took me a couple of days, and I just decided I can't vote for the wars. That I came from the left to libertarianism, and I was a anti-war democratic socialist. Became a libertarian in the early 80s.
Wait. How do you go from a democratic socialist to a libertarian?
Well,
I need to understand that transition. That transition.
I was a Marxist.
Yeah,
you're a Marxist, and now you're a libertarian.
We actually have about a third of libertarians. So a third of libertarians come from the left.
Yep.
And
why?
It's very weird.
The most because. I could tell you the story. I don't know that we wanted to divert the conversation.
Short version, Reader's Digest version.
Give us the
so if you think
notes.
of libertarianism as being economic freedom, personal freedom, and non-interventionism. So non-interventionism in foreign things, non-interventionism in economics, and non-interventionism in your own body.
I get
libertarian. The traditional conservative is okay. I'm going to intervene in your body. I'm going to intervene in foreign wars, but I'm going to be at least this was in the 60s and 70s where I come from. But I don't want intervention in the economics. The typical liberal is non-intervention, and this was way back.
Wait a minute. Focus for me here, Dennis. How do you go from being democratic socialist or a Marxist, in your case, Olga, to a libertarian? Because to me, the spectrum isn't left or right; it's circular, right? There's not linear; it's circular. If you go too far right, you end up
versus anti-authoritarian.
Right.
Yeah, and then the ethic is self-ownership. And once you realize that, the light goes off, and it's like, hold on a second. What I'm thinking is freedom is really not. It's really authoritarian, and I'm an anti-authoritarian in nature, and that just kind of opened the door of exploring like what else is out there.
So basically, it's like there's people who think that we should take care of each other, right? You're like you're a moral person, right? You want there to be a social safety net. You want there to be blah blah blah. You want people to care about each other. You don't want corporations to be polluting things. And there was a time that, and we were actually just talking about that earlier today. There was a time in this country that it wasn't the conservatives fighting for clean air, or I'm saying conservatives, right. And to me that means people who are for the Constitution. But there was a time that people really abused their power, and so being a leftist was like anti-establishment.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a question authority on my lapel all the time. But yes, I think it's consistency, Robert. That if you really like to be consistent, and you realize that there really is very little difference between your own body and the things that you produce with that body. That and that really what we're fighting on for self-ownership is anti-slavery. That you can't take my body. You can't take my body to send it to war. You can't take my body for what I do with it, or put into it, take out of it, and you can't take my body's product because that's just a retroactive enslavement. So we become very consistent, and that's why you get people from the left and from the right. I think it's harder to come from the left, and so that's the reason why I think that we have some of our better people, some of our better thinkers are actually from the left, because it's just a harder journey.
No, understood. Yeah. So, question in New Hampshire, more granular question. Obviously, New Hampshire, they moved it over into a state that could go for Trump. Dixville, Notch obviously was 3-3 at 12:01 a.m. or whatever it was in the morning. Is it your opinion, Dennis, that the endorsement of the Libertarians could be the difference maker in pushing New Hampshire towards Trump?
Question.
I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I will tell you that we were driving around today, and we were noticing the number of Trump signs, and just remarking how the last two election cycles, it was really hard to put up Trump signs in New Hampshire because people just assumed that you were a racist and a fascist, and so there was all this hidden type of support for Trump, but nobody would ever say it.
Mm.
But after 8 years of being called constantly a racist, and it's just worn out, and people go, "Oh yeah, okay, right," and then
Yeah.
they ignore him now.
Yeah, we know
It's really frustrating to the left. I mean, the left's going, "Wait, my super weapon, where is it?"
Right. I still want the question answered. Will the Libertarian endorsement push New Hampshire to a Trump win?
No,
I'm putting you on the spot, Dennis.
No, I would say that my prediction is that New Hampshire still goes for Kamala. The cities are kind of rule. I mean, we Libertarians own the House in this state. We don't own the Senate or the governorship, mostly because we rule in the more rural areas, and we don't take the cities. So the cities really kind of overwhelm things right now. I mean, you come to us in about 4 or 8 years when even more Libertarians have moved here, and you'll see a much bigger difference. I would say that we're making a difference. I mean, I've never seen so many Libertarians. This is 13 elections. 13
nationally,
elections.
it's a difference.
This is the first time I voted for a Republican for president.
Same.
So just so you know how big this is. I was going to just do a signal vote for our Libertarian candidate up until Elon Musk and Ron Paul got into cutting 1/3 of the budget. I mean, I don't know how you can be a Libertarian and say
I'm
that
I'm all for starving the beast.
I'm all for
starving the beast.
Well, because that is 1/3 of the budget, $2 trillion they're talking about. You can do that. Rand Paul talked about doing this years ago, and they laughed him off. Yeah. But if you actually have, the trouble is, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for Elon and Ron Paul. Yeah. And RFK, Tulsi. I'm actually voting for Vivek.
Yes.
For bright people. Who actually can do things. I think, I put it this way. I'm not voting for the barker. I'm voting for the circus.
I got it. Olga, you have the last word.
Wait. Hold on. We can't let them go yet. Okay. Yeah. I've got a setup here.
We're not, excuse me. Ericka says we're not letting you go yet, and you can tell who's the boss here.
What I was going to say, Robert. What I was going to say, Robert, is that Libertarians are at our national convention. Donald Trump showed up. Vivek Ramaswamy showed up.
Yeah.
RFK Jr. showed up. We are going
seeking your vote.
Not only that, but we have and really a lot of the work has our national chair Angela McCardle has worked. So a lot of these policies that are coming out of Trump, ending the taxes against overtime, not taxing tips,
crypto,
cutting the budget, the Department of Government, all of these are Libertarian talking points. So obviously he's listening to it. Yeah. And I would just say on a national scale, we're making a huge difference in terms of the policies, but in swing states, especially, I think that Libertarian vote is going to make a big difference.
And I agree with you. The Libertarian vote, it was a setup, Dennis. I think Trump wins New Hampshire because of the Libertarian vote. And there you have it.
Let's see. Hopefully.
Well, Robert, and what I want to know.
We'll be finding out pretty soon.
It is after 7 o'clock. So,
the question isn't whether Trump wins. The question is who is announced as the winner, right?
Right. There you go.
Oh, speaking of being announced as the winner, that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, by the way. That's one of my bad transitions. Olga, the Latina Libertarian, happens to be Puerto Rican.
That's right.
So I was like, I definitely wanted to get your take on everybody saying that Donald Trump said, or that Donald Trump thinks Puerto Rico is trash. In all sincerity, for those folks who don't know, that comedian was actually trying to shed light on a legitimate problem.
Hashtag trash crisis. He did the biggest favor. So I think it's Daniel. Oh, what's his last name?
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Thank you. Tony Hinchcliffe. He literally, he's a comedian and he specializes in roasting people and in roasting things. So he brought it up, but it is because ever since Hurricane Maria that happened in 2017, there's been this huge crisis of the landfills in Puerto Rico that are contaminating the water. Hashtag trash crisis. If you look it up, all of this stuff propagates. And I think the biggest favor he did was just putting it out there and having people look it up. What's even more funny is that in Puerto Rico, people are saying that they want, a lot of people are saying they want Trump to win because during Hurricane Maria, he showed up and he gave, I think it was like $21 billion or something, whatever it was. It was a large amount of money to help the reconstruction. And of course, because of government corruption, like a lot of that has been squandered, which is why this trash crisis is still happening. And many of them are even comparing, his response, his positive response in Puerto Rico, although there was that, gaffe with like the throwing the paper towels or whatever, which people there really didn't care about, with the response to what's happening currently in North Carolina and East Tennessee. And there was one gentleman, right? And no one there complained about that, by the way. But yeah. So I think it's interesting, and it's always funny to me, like the young woman with the Hillary shirt. Like, we don't need white liberals to get upset on our behalf. Honestly, like, we can take care of ourselves. Thank you very much. I feel perfectly safe in a Trump administration because I get to use my Second Amendment rights. So we're fine. In fact, one of the problems with the migrant crisis that is happening right now is that one of the largest groups of people that are being, violated are Hispanics, because they're going into Hispanic areas, and you have a lot of criminals that are coming in
and overtaking
right now.
Place. Okay.
And I mean, one of my friends who lives in Barry City, Vermont, was assaulted in her backyard by someone who crossed over from El Salvador, who thankfully wasn't arrested in Vermont. They were arrested in New Hampshire. And because he had a record in New Hampshire, he was deported. Had he been arrested in Vermont, I'm pretty sure he would have just been let out. But he had a history for sexual assault in El Salvador, so they deported him there.
Wow, you guys. And that's it. People don't realize you can fly to Canada. You don't need a visa or any of that stuff. And then you can just walk your happy little behind across the border. So
just to be clear, any Puerto Ricans who want to fly to Canada and walk their happy little
we're citizens, so you don't have to.
If they're Liberty people, they
can just fly straight to Manchester.
New Hampshire. Just come down. We'll hide you. If you're socialist, go to Vermont. Buy Olga's house so she can move here.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna transition. Olga Maria, the Latina Libertarian.
We need to have you guys back.
Yes,
I would love it.
Yes, and Dennis Prat, New Hampshire Libertarian Party Chair. You guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
You got it.
Olga, Dennis, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Live free or die.
That's
right. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, I have to say this has been a super fun show so far. This has been good. Okay, we've got some new background music. Can you hear it?
All of a sudden they said, "Okay, this isn't going to work," and they were ready because they knew it could happen. Cheat.
Okay, you guys. So we this one we didn't make we haven't made a video to yet, but for our viewers, you know that we like to make fun rap or house like electronic music out of the rants of politicians and political pundits. So this time I heard a rant from Steven Crowder. We're about to have Jay Shepard on. He hates Steven Crowder, so he's going to hate this one. I hope he's listening. Jay, I see you in the background. I know your camera's off, but I hope you're listening. So this was a rant from Steven Crowder. Jay the Shepherd, a rant from Steven Crowder, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, we're going to turn that into a track. So we're going to play that for just a couple minutes, you guys, while we prep for for our next round of guests.
Cheat. Don't give any genuine interviews or press conferences. Here's another truth. Kamala is either lying or she's stupid. I don't think that this counts. Right, I've told you this. Their playbook is lie, cheat. Or she's stupid. Lie, cheat. I don't think that this counts. Lie, Biden's fine. Until the polls show Americans don't believe it. Cheat. Install somebody. Coronate. Kamala Harris, even though she didn't receive any votes. I don't think that this counts. Lie. Don't give any genuine interviews. Kamala is either lying or she's stupid. And when it doesn't work, cheat. That's what they're going to do in the election. Cheat. That's what they're going to do in the election. Cheat. That's what they're going to do in the election. Lie, cheat. 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 When they realized the lie wouldn't work. There is no door number 3. There's no way it could go
So
on.
that's the theme song. That's the theme song for today. Biden's fine. Biden's fine. Biden's fine. Lie, cheat. Lie, cheat. All right, we're going to take a quick moment to hear from one of our sponsors. Robert?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. All right. Let's see about socialism, y'all.